Just be a good person. You don't need to be the most attractive or the most incredible person. Just be a good one.
Welcome to Island Influencers, where we share stories of successful business owners, experienced professionals, entrepreneurs, and community leaders based or with influence in the Isle of Man. This podcast is brought to you by Thornton Chartered Financial Planners, because great financial planning has the power to change your life. Now here's your host, Sharon Sutton.
My Island influencer this week is Georgina Crebbin, owner of Crebbinsdale Media Ltd, a small independent production company situated in the Isle of Man. Georgina tells me that she's been creating things since she was very little and made her first short film at 13 years old. After that, she began practicing photography, taking acting classes, and growing a keen interest in directing live theatre. At 18, she realised she could combine all of her passions in film, and so she went to study film production at the University of Salford, where she met Reece. They graduated in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic and were struggling to thrive in Manchester, so they decided to move back to the Isle of Man and began developing their idea for a media company. And thus, Crebbinsdale Media was born. Georgina, Georgie as we call her, has also written a brand new show, After, and is taking it this summer to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. It's based on true stories about sexual assault from interviewees across the Isle of Man and England, including her own experience that inspired her to write it. It will be performed by Manx actors, and Georgie hopes it will help change perceptions of what sexual assault is really like. So do listen to this week's conversation with Georgina Crebbin in episode 74 of Island Influencers. Welcome, Georgina. Georgie, you said to call you. It's fine to call you Georgie, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, that's my more colloquial name.
No, that's perfect. So, thanks so much for coming along today to,
Thank you for
to
having me.
Tell your story. Well, no, not my pleasure. I mean, you wrote to me a few months ago about your project, and we both agreed to record an episode of this might be a really good way to magnify your message. So, welcome. And yeah, I mean, if it's all right with you, would you, for the benefit of our listeners, just tell us all about you, where you've come from, and how is it you've come to today, and what?
So, I mean, everything to do with what I'm doing right now actually started when I went to uni. So I decided to go to uni to study film, and it was quite a rash decision because I knew I wanted to do film for like a couple of years before I decided to go to uni. But
well, let's start there, shall we?
Yeah.
So you were from the Isle of Man. You were born here?
Yes. No, I wasn't born here. Sorry.
Okay.
I feel like I am sometimes. I moved when I was 8. So
right. Okay.
Grew up here.
Okay. So where did you go to school? And
so I was at Sulby School for year 4 to year 6, and then I was a Ramsey girl, so Ramsey
Grammar.
Indeed.
Me too.
Oh really?
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
absolutely. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
So and you got to do which sort of studies did you do?
So I did not sure about GCSEs. I know there was always drama in there. And
it's too early to decide what you're doing in there.
Oh, I know. I always knew I wanted to do something artistic, so music, drama, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then it was only really when I got to A-levels that I sort of decided to combine all of those passions in film, and made the quick decision right at the end of when you were supposed to submit your UCAS things to go and do it at uni rather than try and get straight in the industry, because I just didn't have any experience at all. So
right, okay. So where did you? I mean, at school, did you get involved in the plays and?
Yeah. So I actually wanted to be an actress for a long time. So from being a kid, it was always going to be a singer, musician until I was about 14, and then had a really, really great couple of drama teachers. So that's Mr. Owen, who I think is still there, and Ms. Fitzpatrick, who is not. She's moved now, but I absolutely adored their teaching and doing plays and things with them. And then I was always like, going to be an actress. I had a bit of a, I don't know, bad teenage. I mean, every teenager feels like that, I think, where was like, I'm not pretty enough to be an actress, so I'll just not.
making all that stuff up. Huh?
Yes, okay. Yeah. So decided I would go behind the camera instead. So acting's not completely off the card, because I don't think that matters as much as I thought it did when I was that age. But
interesting.
Yeah,
it's interesting. So music, did you play an instrument as well?
Yeah, so I started viola when I first moved over to the island, and then moved on to piano.
Right.
singing lessons, did my grade 8 in singing, and then I got up to grade 5 in piano, and then also played guitar. And my parents very supportive people, so they would just keep buying me like different instruments to try, to the point where I got so overwhelmed. Like,
really?
I can't play it. So I just now, the only ones I've continued with is pretty much piano, guitar and singing, but I don't do
is that all?
loads I don't do loads of them. I'm so out of practice with piano, especially.
I suppose, if you don't practice it.
No.
Like, it always defies logic for me, left hand, right hand, doing different things.
I honestly can't sight read either, because I started quite late. So the sight reading was always a mess in exams. Embarrassing. So
camera work it is.
Yeah. We'll go with the directing and film.
Fantastic.
Thing instead,
Okay, so you got some really good A levels and then went on to
University of Salford.
Right.
So that's in Media City. Which was one of the draws of that uni. But also their open day, I'm not doing an advert for them or anything, but they just cared more about you as a person rather than your grades and things. So they saw, not that my grades weren't okay, but for filmmaking you really have to be a good team worker. So they really focused on making sure that they were getting people who could work in a team. So that felt like the right decision, rather than somewhere that just cared if you could write a good essay.
Fair enough. So what happened then? So you went off to university, full of hope and ambition. And that was in 2017, so 5 years ago now. And it was actually the second day that I was at uni. So uni hadn't even started yet. It was like Freshers Week. Right.
And I went to kind of a Freshers party and then went into town. And I won't describe it, but that's the night that I was raped. So
goodness me.
And then the next day,
that's horrible.
Yes.
Okay.
Not what you want when you first go to uni.
No, not really. No, I'm not. I mean, that's awful.
And it's strange enough, because I was drunk when it happened. The day after is actually way worse in my memories, because I did decide to tell the police, and that in itself was more traumatizing because of the amount of assessments they have to do and blah, blah, blah. Sure. So I did come back. I think I came back to the island for a couple of days, but I really wanted to be at uni. The course was really important to me, and at that point you're just in a state of shock. So
indeed,
I did go back and moved on for a while.
Yes.
Until I guess like a year later, I decided I was going to start addressing it, because I think it was trapped in there.
Had you heard many other stories related to you from other women and young girls? Or?
See, for me, and I think this is quite a common thing, I would never really speak about it unless somebody mentioned it, and I would just casually throw in like, oh yeah, that happened, this happened. I never spoke about it properly. And then a friend of mine, she knew that it happened to me, and she opened up to me. She'd never told anybody, even though it happened to her, years ago. And we had this like hours and hours of talking, and she said like, I never ever would have told anybody if you hadn't told people. And it made me realize like, actually I need to talk about it and be more open with it. If anything, I need to make some kind of film about it, because then other people can feel like they can speak up as well.
But it's really brave.
Thank you. It's hard because it comes in waves of being very dissociated from it, where it doesn't bother me at all. And then some days I'll cry about it. So you never know which day we're going to get.
Okay.
I think we're okay today. I think we're a bit dissociated.
Okay, but today. If you change, it's equally fine.
Thank you.
It's just brave to talk about something so awful that happened, and to have done what you've done with it is incredibly inspiring. I as a woman, talking to you about it here.
Thank you.
I know you're completely welcome. I mean, what happened when you went back to university? You said that you were in shock, and I completely understand why. What happened from there, and how did you get to the point that you decided this happened? I mean, what was it like dealing with it? What was the...
It was funny because it seemed to come out more physically, then so your body like holds trauma.
Yeah.
And so even though in my brain I was like, oh, it's fine, I don't remember a lot of it. I was, kind of unconscious for a lot of it. I was like, oh, I'm fine. But then, I started getting stressed with uni work, as you do. And the stress was almost bringing out those deep things, and I would start crying about them. And I actually met my partner there, Reece, who I now run the business with, and he just trying to be, this is quite a common thing, trying to be intimate with him started to get more and more difficult. The more and more, this came, I started feeling the same feelings again. So in like the second year of uni, when it started getting really bad and my stress levels were horrendous, I kind of started talking about it with people. That's when I had the huge talk with my friend, who said that talking about it helped her. And then I knew I wanted to make a film at that point, but I think what happened was the uni said for me to make something like that in uni as a uni project, you'd need lots and lots of like consent forms, and it ended up not going through. And I'm glad it did, because it means I can make it now.
Yeah, sure.
So,
were they worried about reputational damage?
No, I think it was more just for the people involved. They didn't want them to be traumatized or anything, but I doubt they would be. But
you mean you're the person who raped you?
No. The uni basically, because the film is interviewing people about their experience.
I
and
see.
They were worried
okay.
Yeah, they were worried that those people who were being interviewed would, be bringing up trauma and.
Okay, so they didn't have the people that they felt on hand.
Yeah.
Things like counselling, maybe.
Yeah, they felt like it was maybe too much to do it as a uni project.
Okay.
But I'm glad, because I think I'm, a better filmmaker now to have made it now.
Okay.
Well, not now, a year ago instead.
Yeah.
So a year after I finished uni.
Okay. So you finished uni, you graduated.
In 2020, which was...
Yeah.
I'm actually only attending my graduation next week.
Of course, because that's... I know, the year of lost so much.
I know.
Including graduations.
So,
okay.
And then, because of COVID, the original plan had always been that me and my partner would stay in Manchester and try and become part of the film industry there.
Yes.
And then COVID happened, obviously, there was no film industry. And if we didn't move back to the Isle of Man, we would have not had anywhere to live, nowhere to work.
Food to eat.
Yeah, literally. So,
So
my parents said, no, of course you can come back, stay with them. And my mum said, why don't you start a videography business?
Yeah.
So Reece and I, we almost like work really well as together in the film kind of industry, because his specialties is like editing, graphics, VFX.
Okay.
Whereas my specialties is the more like writing, directing, more creative side of things. So,
yes. And sound,
it worked.
Sound engineering.
Well, the sound and the camera just kind of happened as well.
Yes.
You have to pick something technical to do, really.
Yeah.
So that you have a skill, I guess. That's not
right.
just...
Okay.
That was my plan anyway, if I had gone into the industry the way I intended.
Okay, so you had to come to the Isle of Man to do it. Not the worst place.
No, not at all. And and then my partner actually ended up working at Greenlight, which was a perfect decision for him. That experience that he gets is amazing.
Yes.
So it's pretty much just me running that business by myself now. But yeah,
with input from him when needed.
He helps with the stuff I can't do. The VFX graphics things.
Okay.
Yeah, so we knew we wanted to make short films as part of that business.
Yeah.
And I thought, I've always wanted to make this, and I never did. So
okay. So
like
that was one project that you needed to do.
Yeah.
So given the restrictions that Salford University said that you couldn't do it for, how did you go about getting the support in place before you started?
Yeah. So with it being like it was just us then. So just me and Reece in our company. There weren't any restrictions really, other than those we set ourselves. So I just put a post out on Facebook asking for people if they wanted to talk about the story, what I was doing, and I think I had like 15 responses, and then 12 of them ended up wanting to go through with it.
Right.
I made sure that every step of the way it was their choice and their decision to tell me what they wanted, to go into as much detail or none as they wanted.
Yeah.
And because that was like during the second lockdown, that was all over FaceTime, whatever. It was over
Zoom.
So.
Okay. So that was just gathering the footage and the research in order to put the...
So all the audio in the film is either real audio that we recorded in those interviews, or it's acted by somebody to keep that anonymity.
Yeah, anonymity. Good word. Anonymity.
There you go. Yeah. So I think most of them, it's their own voice. And it's why, I mean, the film won't be sadly able to be seen until it's finished its festival circuit, just because of, that's how they are.
Okay.
But some of the audio you can tell that it was recorded on their phones. And though normally as a filmmaker and a soundy, I would be like, I wanted it to be better quality, it actually adds this sense of like everydayness to it, which
it's very, very, very authentic, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's of its time as well. Doing it over the airwaves during COVID as well. Gosh, were there lots of things that you shared with each other that helped you with your
absolutely
dealing with the trauma of it?
Yeah, I think for all of us, I mean, I spoke to all of them. They haven't spoken to each other because that's their choice.
And they're not all local, are they?
No, so it's about half and half with here in England.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, so, you know, everything they all say, and you can tell by the way the film is and the way the play is when we get to that, that the feelings that people feel are really similar. And talking about those experiences with somebody else, you just completely feel like you're not alone, that you're not weird for feeling the way you feel, you're not abnormal for thinking the things you think. And I don't know, that like sense of belonging, even though it's not somewhere you want to belong, really helped all of us actually. And
that's great.
Especially I hadn't really fully healed from it, I don't think, but I think I have now.
Okay. Did you involve any professionals in it at any point in?
No.
Grief counsellors or? No,
I mean, they've all had their own separate journeys about, with cancer, some negative, some positive.
Right.
But it was always just a case of, I'm going to ask you this question, but you don't have to answer. Or, you can talk about this or you don't have to.
Sometimes it's asking permission to go there, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely, And it was completely their decision, and they got to listen to the edits and everything before the film went out to make sure they were happy with how they came across and everything. So it's been very much, I wanted them to be driving those decisions because at the end of the day, they're being very brave and vulnerable.
So what happened when you got, is that the raw material you got from there, you put it into a...
Yes, yeah. So it's a 12-minute short, and the audio is all it's verbatim, all of it.
Yeah.
And then we filmed kind of like just creative visuals to go along with it. It follows a girl who's kind of the aftermath, which is what I really wanted to focus on. I think people focus on the horror of the actual event all the time.
Yeah.
And, you hear horror stories, but nobody talks about the months, years afterwards that you're still struggling with that.
Okay.
So that's what it focused on. And we filmed that with a Manx actress called Kira Mackey. And that kind of just supports the audio rather than a usual film that might be more visual.
Okay. All right. So how did you then decide to take that to a stage show?
Carl Parker is, well, everybody knows Carl, I think.
Yeah, Parker and Snell.
Yes, from Parker and Snell, yeah. So he is a good friend of mine, and he actually was one of the actors who voiced one of the interviewees. So he already knew about the project, and he mentioned it to me, and he said, I think this could really work as a play. And we already knew we wanted to go to the Fringe. They wanted to take something to the Fringe. And so just through talks with Parker and Snell, really, they really wanted to, if I wanted to. And I spoke to the interviewees, and they wanted it to happen as well. So
you have everybody's blessing to take it there. And
and then
it's an amazing opportunity for anybody, but I mean, this is particularly so. Yeah,
I'm really hoping that it's the type of thing that the Fringe, I think, needs. I think people expect. The Fringe can be a little bit more outlandish than maybe say your average theatre. You know, you can explore things that may be a bit darker. People expect that kind of to push those limits. So I think something like this will really work there, where you know, people want to learn more about difficult topics. Yeah, but also still be obviously a good piece of theatre. Yeah, but yeah, we picked 4 of the stories to basically turn into monologues. So when I did the interviews, I actually ended up with like 30 hours of audio from these 12 interviews, and then had to make that into a 12-minute short. So
that's a lot of editing.
Yeah.
Well done, Reece.
That actually was me.
I was it?
Yes.
Yeah.
He got the easy bit with that because he's too busy. So
okay.
So yeah, it took me a lot of time, but so there was so much that I wanted to include that couldn't. So that's why we went with the idea of monologues.
Right. And then you can put that into the stage show, right?
Absolutely.
Okay,
So
I get it.
It's more in depth about those individual stories, and they've read their own monologues and things, so they again know how they're being portrayed. And
you've got actresses and actors to do this, because I'd said before about women and girls, but in actual fact there's men and boys that have been
indeed
subject to this crime as well.
Yes. So there's 4 monologues, and 3 of them are females and 1 of them's a male.
Right. Well, thank you for telling me all about that. Going from the Fringe now, I mean, we're up to present day, and this is happening in August. The podcast should go out before that, hopefully. But this is going to be around on the airways for in perpetuity, so that's great. What at this point, do you mind me asking, what are your hopes and aims beyond hopefully the success that it is at that show? I mean, are there anything?
Yeah, I mean, we've spoken more with Carl, and he really thinks I should do more of the stories as monologues, because I think there were you know, quite a few of them were interested. They were happy for their stories to be used. So I could do 8 monologues, so do 4 more, and then maybe publish that to be so that theatre companies worldwide can then perform it. Right. Which obviously takes those stories further. So that's something that we're looking at. But also the film will eventually just be online for people to see as well, because that's, even though it's great to have the awards or whatever, the main purpose I wanted to make it for was just so that people could understand what somebody goes through that's been sexually assaulted, but also so that the people that have been can have some kind of reference to how they might be feeling. They can feel less alone. I mean, did you reach out to charities that I think particularly like victim support and when shelter, and then there's the Women's Refuge, isn't there? I think there's quite a few charities that we have victim support's link at the end of the film. So that people watching it, if they feel like they want to speak to somebody. And then the play especially talks about victim support, and I don't think victim support know that, but I will tell them at some point. But somebody
might listen here.
Somebody spoke about their experience with them being positive, and it's a good place to go. And so there's resources there, and then the plan is that I would really like to, with like either when it goes live, let charities across the UK or wherever use it for talks and things like that. I know that I would love it to go round schools in the older years to remind them why it's not funny. I mean, you raise a really valid point. I mean, you see beautiful young girls, and you wouldn't know they were 14. No. They look, like they could be a model. They look adult, don't they? Yeah. So it's just to remind them about consent and just how important that really is. Yeah, absolutely. So I'd love for it to. I think honestly, any conversation it can start is a positive. So it would definitely we're not just going to do the Fringe and then leave it. So you've got a local show on here, haven't you, as well? Yeah. So that'll help raise funds to go. Yes. And I mean, we'll be going regardless, but it's very expensive. I'm sure it is. Yeah. So, but also so that people over here get the chance to see it live. Yeah. So that's on the 5th of August at the Kensington Arts Centre. Yeah. And we'll be like the first ever premiere of it. So I'm very, I'm actually more nervous for than the fringe.
Are you?
Because
right. Why's that?
It's, I guess, because I know a lot of people that have supported me through it.
It's always peer approval, isn't it?
Yeah, and they've supported me through so much of it, and they know my story very well.
Yes.
I think it'll be very emotional as an evening for me.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm actually acting in it, not doing my own story, but just as an actress.
Right.
So
so that date again?
The 5th of August.
5th of August.
Yeah.
Right, you are. Okay, we'll put links to that in the show notes. And
yes, thank you.
No, not at all. I mean, we haven't talked about the other aspects. So this is just one project that you have ongoing, but your business, Crebbinsdale Media. Mm-hmm. So what do you do there? What's the purpose behind that company?
So other than short films, we do videography, photography and graphic design for commercial or private clients. And we do a lot of wedding videos and things like that. Okay. And adverts for people. But it's just a way that
Sounds like you need a lot of expensive equipment for that.
Yes.
Georgie.
Yes, yeah, we do. Yeah, so we utilise that equipment to maybe if you're not sure you're not sure how to make a video for your business or something like that. Yeah. To showcase what you do, then we have the tools and experience to do that. Mm-hmm. But we also love doing it, and we love helping people make something that they can show off. Yeah. Same with wedding videos. Even though it is a stressful day, and you want to make sure you capture it for that couple really well, it's also just nice to know that that's going to be a memory for them for the rest of their lives. Yeah. It's a good, it's definitely a good job. Yeah. Very lucky to do it.
That's great. So you mentioned you're on your own at the moment. Is there any point in the future where you want to expand that business and recruit people, or are you still sort of starting out really?
Definitely still starting out. I'm sure you've had lots of business people speak on here.
Yes.
But I'm very, new to all of this, and I
fresh pair of eyes, Georgie.
Yes. But my first year, we got to the end of it, and I was like, we've not broke even. It's been like a little loss, and I thought that was the worst thing ever. And I was like, I thought I'd failed and blah blah, because I knew nothing of business. And then I spoke to some other business owners. I was like, that's normal, and I was like, what? You mean I'm not supposed to be making, thousands already? And they're like, no, that's not how that works, especially buying equipment for the job. Yeah. And then this year, now that we are making a profit, it's just I just feel I wish I'd known all of this, but I've had no business experience.
What's your number one tip then for what you've learned?
I think, just know that you're not going to be the most successful thing ever straight away. It takes a lot of time to build relationships with clients, especially on the Isle of Man, to get that word of mouth. It's like the most effective marketing. So just to be patient, and whilst you're being patient, work on your own skills. As I said, Reece was originally going to be doing all the graphics and things like that. Mm-hmm. And I've had to take over for a lot of it. And so I've learned, whole new programs, whole new systems that I didn't know out of necessity. But then even though that scared me, it's actually been extremely worthwhile, because now when Reece does come back to the business on a more regular basis, then there's two of us then working on the same things. So
is that it for learning, or are you going to carry on a bit?
Oh no, I'm always learning, always, and definitely not like an absolute expert.
Good,
but just camera as well. Even though I knew what I was doing with camera, there's always more to learn. There's always new things.
So in terms of, my day job obviously is to do with money, but managing your business, you said first year you made a small loss, and now you started to turn a profit. What did you learn about managing money during that period?
Keep track of it all.
Yeah, it's easy to spend it, isn't it?
Yeah, we were okay really, because we're not huge. We had a lot of the equipment already, because we're very lucky to have, we knew what we wanted to do. Yeah. And we had it from hobbies and stuff. But
yeah. What do you want for Christmas?
Yeah, literally. Yeah. So we already had some, but it was just trying to do both the creative side of the business and actually doing the work. But then also it's like a whole other Kettlefish as the admin and the budgeting and all of that, and keeping track of receipts and everything. And though I wasn't doing it in a particularly efficient way. Whereas this financial year, I've just completely, I have beautiful Excel spreadsheets everywhere that I've really kept on top of. That
well done.
Just it's been a lifesaver, and I just wish I'd been that strict with myself from the start, rather than like having a bit of a mad panic.
Yeah.
Thinking, oh my gosh, I don't, where's this specific receipt from this thing? Not that you desperately need those receipts, but still, when I didn't know what I was doing, I was
That's
panicking.
excellent.
Yeah.
So, and when you're not busy running your business and filming wedding videos and the like, what do you do to relax? How do you keep your life in balance?
I really like video games, which I think is pretty common for my age group.
Okay, what sort of video games? I take you're not talking Pac-Man or Space Invaders or...
Well, I love any kind of like life simulator. So there's there's Planet Coaster, Planet Zoo. They where you run like a theme park or a...
What's your favourite movie?
Oh gosh, it changes all the time, but at the moment it's Good Luck to You, Leo Grande, which has just come out, and it's fantastic. It's amazing.
You'll have to send me an email with that.
It's really good. It's about it's got Emma Thompson in it, and she hires an escort man because she's never had a good experience in the bedroom. So, but it's really, the whole film is just her talking with him about their lives and how different they are, and it's so good. So good.
Going to watch
the acting
that.
is amazing.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it's really funny as well.
Yeah, I mean, you chose to come back here during a pandemic, and I can see exactly why. What so best things? What keeps you here?
I mean, the beauty of the island, really.
Yeah.
Especially as a filmmaker or a creative person, there's just so much inspiration everywhere. I like the city for about 5 minutes, and then I just miss the water and the greenery. So I adore that. But also the community here. I don't think I could have set up a business in the UK, the exact same thing, doing the exact same things, and been able to do well in it, because I think over here there's so much support from people who might hire you once, are going to speak about you with other people, and then you're easily trackable. I think there's that side of things. I think that's why we do have so many small businesses over here, which I think is ace. Because growing your business is easier here, I think.
I agree.
For the best.
Yeah, that's great. And what do you think then are the main challenges that the island faces, or that you find from your point of view? I mean, mentioning the cost of getting to this fringe, I suppose travel's quite a challenge, isn't it?
Yeah. I think also, I mean, this is the same all over the UK, I guess, but it is expensive to live here, and it makes sense because it's a very beautiful place to live. But as a young person, it is something that we think about, will we have to go back to England? Because to afford a place that we can have an office in, like a spare room and things like that, is, I don't know, it's more than it would be if we were in, the outskirts of Manchester or something.
Yeah,
so
indeed. Yeah.
So it is something that we consider, and it might have to happen, but I think the Isle of Man will always be a place of work for me, even if it's not all the time, because there's so much here that's worthwhile coming back for. Okay, so
the fringe is happening.
Yep.
You've got the show here.
Yes.
What about after?
I would love to continue a career in the film industry. I would like to work on some features. Kind of the plan that we had when we were leaving uni, which, worked out that didn't happen, but I would still like to go and work on films on a bigger scale. And we're also looking to make a short that on the island that will be it should hopefully be of very high quality. So if we make it, it'll be with a producer friend of mine who has done some of the BFI network films. So
BFI, British Film Industry.
Yes, yep. Yeah. So they've made one with that, and it was at the Oscar qualifying level.
Blimey.
So hopefully we can get one up there as well.
Are you able to mention the person, or is that...
Yeah. His name's Harris Tomlinson Spence, and he runs. It's called View Shift Productions in Manchester area.
Right. Okay.
So he's like coming on as kind of a cyber producer to help me make that. It's just getting the funding again.
Yeah,
it's always the case, but that's film.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this, we can share this around. And,
yes, thank you. Yeah.
I mean, just here's a few fun questions just at the end.
Sure.
I mean, so we know what the film is. What's any books you've read recently? Any books you'd recommend to people?
I mean, I've recently actually read Mouse by Art Spiegelman, which a friend recommended to me, but it's I've never read a book like this before, but it's actually it's called a graphic novel, so it looks like a comic book, but it's not. It's about World War II, and from the perspective of a Jewish man and his father.
Gosh.
And it's just absolutely, I mean, horrendous, obviously, because it talks about Auschwitz and stuff, but it's the artwork in it as well is just... it's amazing.
Mouse, okay.
Mouse, yeah. M-A-U-S.
Who inspires you?
Without getting emotional, my dad, probably. It's just to be really soppy.
Yeah, no, but why? Why does he inspire you?
I mean, he just does not care what other people think about him.
Great.
He's very much, I'm going to be a good person, and I'm going to do what I would like to do, and if people don't like me, then they don't like me. And for me, that was something I've always struggled with, is wanting to be desperately liked, especially when I was younger. So to see him wear his socks over his joggers and his cycling lycra and think it's hilarious because he knows he doesn't look like a model or anything, but he thinks it's great. He doesn't care. That has been like a huge helper in me trying not to be so people-pleasing and just be a good person. You don't need to be the most attractive or the most incredible person, just be a good one.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
What's your favourite quote?
I don't know if I have one. The one that's coming to me it was actually a poem my granddad wrote me, but it's not quite a quote. It's just like a little thing. But it's go on, cause a splash, make some waves, at least have your say. Then when you go, you can leave some ripples that only slowly fade away. And
that's really good. That's so cool.
It's it was him basically saying to me, supporting my dreams because they all knew what I wanted to do. So do it.
Is he still alive?
No, he's not. Sadly, he died February 2020. Actually, yeah,
Gosh,
just before
COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, his
He'd be
funeral.
very proud of you.
Thank you. He was a very very eccentric, artistic person as well. So loved making stop motion films, which I think he made one with paper clips or something. I can't remember.
Yeah.
He loved stop motion. It actually makes me feel a bit queasy. I don't know why. Stop motion. I don't know what it is about it. Yeah.
Grommet. Yeah. Lovely. Okay. Thank you. So, where can people go to learn more about you, Crebbinsdale Media, after?
Yes, so for information about after and ticket sales, the best place to go is just Parker and Snell Company on Facebook.
Okay.
They have everything on there.
Right.
And then if you'd like to know more about me or Crebbinsdale Media, then it's Crebbinsdale Media on Facebook or probably crebbinsdale.media on Instagram.
Okay, and if you're checking out this show, if you click on the notes of the show, you'll find all the links in there, so which we'll put in for you. But
thank you,
Georgie. It's been such a pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you
so much for sharing it. I mean, what a story!
Thank you.
So
thank
brave.
you for featuring it.